Thanks for joining me today. We're going to have a beginner oud lesson. Alright, hello. Thanks for joining. Today we're going to have a beginner oud lesson, and we're going to talk about a few things. This week, for the next 5 days, I have a special enrollment for the foundation program. The first 5 enrollees, they get exclusive Q&A to go over some beginner oud problems, challenges, and also free 30 minutes of oud lesson. So here you can check out the details. I'll put that into the chat. Let me know where you're from and how long you've been playing the oud. Alright, awesome. Nick, thanks for joining. Glad you're enjoying everything. All right. Nick, if you have any questions, any challenges you're going through, anything you want me to tackle today, please let me know. Just going to get tuned up here. Our tuning that we use, we tune to C, G, D, A, and then either this note, today I have it tuned to G. You can also tune it to F, both work, and then we have C. So let me know how long you've been playing the oud and what you want me to tackle today. If you have any questions, this is for beginners, so any beginner questions are welcome. And I'll just get playing a little bit here. I'm going to put this in the chat so people comment. So we're going to talk about tuning the oud, learning, really knowing where to put your fingers. And we're going to do some basic stuff with the right hand, left hand. And yeah, so we'll get started here. Hey TQ, thank you. I'm doing great. How about you? Do you play oud? in case you don't know, this is not an oud, but it's an oud-like instrument. This is a modified Turkish cumbush, and I love this instrument a lot, but it's made for oud players. It has this wooden piece here that allows it to be held more like an oud, and it's fairly much more comfortable than a regular cumbush. And the nice thing about it, it's got geared pegs as well. This was made in France by Sylvain, a great luthier of electric ouds and these instruments here. So let me know what you want me to tackle today. We're going to go through a couple really basic stuff. Right hand, left hand, how to hold the oud. And we're going to talk about tuning and knowing, where to put the fingers. That's always a thing for bare beginners. How do I know if I'm putting my fingers in the right spot? It's no easy thing to figure out. There's no frets here, so it's like looking into a black hole. You have no idea where you really need to put your fingers. So I'm going to show you some tricks to learn how to do that. So this is Hijaz, Makam Hijaz Kar. Hey Nick, that's a great question. It's a great instrument. I really do like the multi-oud. I don't really like the tuning that it uses. It uses the F to F tuning, so it creates a different vibe, and it's really set up. The bridge pickup and everything seems to be more set up to that tuning, but it's got a great sound for an electric oud. So I really like it from that aspect, and you can do a lot to adjust the sound. It's a great place to start for an electric oud, but there are other options for electric ouds that I might recommend a bit more. The guy who makes this instrument, actually, his electric ouds are fantastic. He's located in France, and they're really good. They kind of have this kind of travel oud style. They're really nice, and he can adapt to whatever tuning you want to use, and the instrument is adaptable. He has some bridge mechanism that adjusts the weight of the strings and on the bridge, so it's quite nice. I'm gonna put his details in here. He did such a fantastic job with this instrument. I'm really happy with the way that the neck feels. The ebony piece of ebony here is just fantastic. This is just a wonderful instrument. It's really one of my favorite. Let me get his information here for you. So you can find out everything about his electric ouds at sbdprojects.com. Check that out. Yeah, I would recommend, when it comes to electric ouds, check that out first. You will be quite impressed, I believe, and he's what I recommend. Yeah, check him out. Okay, Tester Black, thanks for putting your comment in there. If there's a book, that kind of book on that discusses Turkish makams, Arabic makams, and Persian dastgah, that book, I don't think such a book exists yet, anyway. I've done a little bit about that on my blog, just a little bit, very surface level kind of thing. Let me see if I can find the link for you, and I will put that into the chat. I have done a little bit of comparison between Arabic makams and Persian dastgah, but not so much. Let's see here. Find that link for you. That would be a great book if such a book existed. I'm not sure if such a book does exist. Most books deal with either Turkish maqams or Arabic maqams or Persian music and Persian daskal. And each one has their own approach to it, as you can imagine. A lot of the melodies and the structures, the scales or maqams or the modes that you hear, some of them do overlap, but their approach to it is kind of unique in each tradition. So it would be interesting to have that compared. Coming up with the link here now. I wrote this blog article many years ago now, and so my knowledge of Arabic music and Persian music, well, Arabic music in general, has increased since then, I hope, and my knowledge of Turkish music has increased since then. But this is kind of a surface level comparison. So check out that link there. Hey Carol, thanks for joining today. Good to see you as usual. Left hand, go over the spatial relationship between fingertips and the knuckles. The fingertips and the knuckles. That's a good question. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit, Carol? The spatial relationship between the fingertips and the knuckles. Okay. If you can clarify a little bit more what you mean, that'd be awesome. But I will do my best to answer that in the way that I understand it. So yeah, let's go over the basics for oud playing. For those of you who are really new to the oud, we've got our right hand comes around the back, kind of like giving somebody a headlock. You come around here, and your wrist does not touch the bridge or the strings. It kind of hangs out here, like this. Important thing to note is that you need to get your right leg up high so that you can bring the instrument closer to you so that your arm doesn't have to reach so far. This instrument in particular is a little bit low. I mean, the body is a lot more narrow than ouds. So I have to bring my leg up more, or my arm has to go lower in order to reach the strings. So that's a consideration that you have to make. You have to find what's comfortable for your body. The oud is held at a 3-point juncture. Your leg propping it up, your chest or the side of your body, and your arm holding it here. And then you can hold it with these 3 points without even using your left hand. I'll pick up the oud here so you can see this. This is tuned to Turkish tuning. As you can see already, it's much higher. There's more distance, so I don't have to bring up my leg as much. And my arm is more comfortable. So your arm comes around here. The only thing touching the edge of the oud, edge over here, is your forearm. Don't get the corner of your elbow in there. Just the forearm is holding, and it's hanging out up here. The left hand is relaxed, as though your arm is like a robot. You know, you're just like here, as though you reach out to shake somebody's hand. Hand is nice, and you don't have to bring your elbow up. Just let it hold here, and then your hand meets the neck. Meets the neck like you're giving somebody a handshake. And we have this kind of a motion. I'm just going to bring up my camera so I can see this here. So thumb at the top. Thumb can come back a little bit like this behind the neck, but it's usually poking above. The hand here at the bottom is always touching. There's always contact until you go up here. There's always contact as your fingers go up the neck. One note about knuckles, Carol. The proximity of knuckles to the neck of the oud. So my knuckles I always try to keep them curved. And depending on the shape of your fingers and how they work, they may curve at different angles. For bare beginners, if you want to practice, you can practice bringing the fingers all at once to the neck. You can keep them together, or you can splay them. You can splay them like that, but always there's this contact between the bottom of the neck and the palm of your hand, or the tip of the palm of your hand here. As you reach for the strings lower to the ground, it will be easier to reach these. As you reach over here more, your hand has to kind of curl over a bit. But you want to avoid this, bringing your wrist to the neck. You want to avoid that bend in your wrist. You don't want to be bended like that, you want to be straight. The only thing reaching the strings are your fingers. Proximity of knuckles to the neck of the oud. I've never really thought of it that way, in terms of knuckles. The first and second finger knuckles actually touch the back of the neck. I see what you mean. So the inside, I guess, this is how I think about it. The inside of your knuckles. They're quite far when they're over here. When I'm touching the string closest to the ground, they're quite far away. As I reach a little bit more, they're still far away. They never touch the strings, and they never seem to touch the neck. Even over here, if I play over here, they're still very far away. Even up here, if I do stuff over here, then it's different. It's still very far away. So yeah, there's never going to be this kind of thing happening where your fingers are flat or anything like that. I always try to keep my fingers curved. So this guy is in a different tuning, so I'm not using this right now. I'll go back to the Jumbush Oud. So your left hand hangs out there like giving somebody a handshake, and your fingers curl over. Now, as a very beginner, you want to keep your hand in the first position. First position is where your hand is all the way to the left. And when we talk about the note positions in the first position, we have one finger per semitone. Now, from one note to another note in basic music, we have half steps. We call them half steps. And we have whole steps. And in Middle Eastern music, you have something smaller than half steps, quarter steps, and whatnot, and even microtonal steps. But the basic music you learn at the beginning are made up of half steps and whole steps. So when we look at the fingerboard here, we usually start on the C string. We have C, this note C. Then a half step, as you put a finger down, all the way down the fingerboard, the note gets sharper and sharper. And as soon as you get up here, this is the same note as the open string. So these notes, there's a relationship. There's a distance relationship and a sound relationship. So they sound the same, except one is lower. One is the sound wave is rotating at a slower frequency, faster frequency, so it sounds higher. As you put your finger down, the sound gets lower, the frequencies change. So we want to decide where we're going to put our fingers. So what we generally do is we want to use the first finger on the C string here, and it's about an inch from the nut, from the edge. And you want to, when you learn music, the most organic way, or the ancient way before having tuners, digital tuners and whatnot, would be to just copy the sound, copy the relationship. The first note is our open string, so that's going to be our standard. Then your teacher plays the next note, and you want to think about the relationship. You want to understand the relationship between these two notes. Da, da. So we have C and C sharp. Sharp means one half step higher. Then our second finger, another, let's say an inch above the first finger, we have our D note. Now, assuming your oud is in tune, a way that you can make sure that that second finger is in the right spot is to play your open D string. You may have to adjust, move more to the right, move more to the left to find that note. Now, let's do a little test here. Are these notes the same? Do they sound pleasant to you when they are played in combination? They don't quite sound the same to me. One is a little bit too flat. You get this dissonant feeling, this sound of that they're not quite matching. Now as I bring my finger, my second finger, more to the right, now how do these sound? Do they sound pleasant to your ear? Do they sound like the notes mesh? If they do, then you're in the right spot, assuming you've got your oud in tune. So you use your D string, your open D string, the third course here, to make sure that you've got your second finger in the right spot. And then, in order to know where the first finger goes, it should be in between the second finger and the first, the nut. And that's roughly the place of C sharp. So this is the D note, C sharp, and then we have open string. So we can try to remember how these sounds, how these relationships to the open string sound. So you repeat. Use one finger, pluck over here. We'll get into the right hand plucking soon, but I want to talk a little bit about the left hand and hearing the note difference between notes. Now, the second, when you play the open string and you put down the second finger, the sound changes. Compare that with, this is very basic stuff. But the important thing is to get that second finger in the right spot, because it's a very important place. If you get that finger in the right spot, then the first finger will get in the right spot too. So you want to practice like this. Open string, first finger. And you want to memorize how this sounds. Da, da. Try to sing it with your voice. And then compare with the open string and the second finger. Then you want to do the same thing with your third finger. Go a little, just put your finger down there, not too close to the second finger, just about another space, finger space, like this. There's a harmonic relationship between these notes, the open C string and the third finger spot. These are called in Western music minor third, and they are also harmonious together, but not as harmonious as some notes. but it's a nice sounding combination. Da, 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 da. Then you want to do the same thing with your pinky finger. You want to memorize how that's supposed to sound together. Da, da. So you've got this 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 finger spaces that you can put down. So one exercise that you can do is down on the open string, down with the first finger. Down with the open string, down with the second finger. Down with the open string, down with the third finger. Down with the open string, and down with the pinky finger. This is a hard exercise because your hand might not be comfortable playing with the oud like this. But that's one of the first exercises we do. And one of the rules of thumb, if we want to put notes down, fingers down in consecutive order, one of the rules of thumb is that when we go from the first finger to the second finger, we keep the first finger down as well, just so that if we need to go back to that note, then it's very efficient. You just lift off your finger and then there's the note playing. This is basic stuff that you learn in guitar, violin, all this kind of in these string instruments. So another exercise you can try is putting down each of the fingers one at a time. Now if you can keep your fingers planted, that's great. If not, then what you can do, first finger, then keep your first finger there when you move to second finger. Then when you move to third finger, you can let go of your index finger, but keep your second finger there. So at least you've got your second finger down. But you keep this index finger ready, close to the string. It doesn't have to be tense. You don't have to be flexing the finger, but just keep it hanging out there. Just don't let it go too far away. Sometimes it does. That's hard to avoid, but keep it close, ready for action. Then when you get to the fourth finger, you can let go of these two fingers and just keep down the third finger. But as you get stronger, as your left hand becomes more strong and dexterous, then you can keep all 4 fingers down as you go up. And that's a great skill to work on. So you want to think about, also memorize the sound, how you start at this note, da, the next note has to be the next semitone or half step, da, then the next one, da, 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 da. You gotta memorize, get in the habit of hearing what that sound sounds like and then trying to copy that sound. And start with your voice too. This is a very organic and very ancient way of learning music. Just copying and hearing what you copy, being able to develop that skill of copying what you hear. Okay, let's talk about the right hand and then we'll get into some questions. So if you saw the newsletters for the last week, you heard about the heavy hand technique. I want to talk about this one. So the heavy hand technique is developing the right percussive sound that we get with the oud. We don't pluck the strings so much as we hit the strings. And to hit the strings, what you do is you want to have a wind-up, a little wind-up. When I play in real life, I'm exaggerating right now, but for the basic downstroke, you want to wind up with your wrist muscles. The only thing that's moving is your hand. See how I wind up there and let go. Let go. That's the heavy hand technique. You want to feel the weight of your hand come down on the strings. Let's talk about holding the Risha first. Before we do that, kind of all over the place, aren't I? Okay, so the Risha, we pinch the tip of the Risha with our index finger and thumb. Thumb is nice and slanted as much as you can. Pinch that. You kind of create an X with your index finger and thumb, and then the Risha goes in between that X like this. You're always getting the strings on the edge of the Risha, the tip, this half. You're not playing vertically like you're not playing like this. You're playing to the side on the angle of the Risha, if you can see that. See the angle, the side of the Risha is hitting the strings. And then there's two ways of holding the Risha. One is full palm, like this. Get all the fingers in there, like this, nice and relaxed, and make a fist. Keep these fingers together. One thing you want to avoid at all times is to avoid letting the index finger come back like this. This really is not great for creating a good tone and good sound. You have no support underneath the Risha, so it's going to make your upstroke very weak. So you want to bring that index finger underneath the thumb so that you're supporting the Risha on both sides, up and bottom. So what will happen is that maybe your index finger is going to poke out a little bit from the rest of this fist that you've created. And you've got this nice wind up, let go, wind up, let go. Don't worry about what strings you're touching or you're hitting. You may find that you scrape your index finger on the strings. That's okay for the beginning. You'll develop control over it over time. Keep the thumb curved, nice slope, nice ski slope here. That will give the Risha a lot of support. If you go like this, then you're going to change the angle of the Risha a little bit. And it works, you can do it, but you want to kind of support everything, be kind of tight, not tight, give the Risha a lot of support. And you want to focus on one string. In the basic stroke pattern, when you do the wind up, you come down, the Risha tip may land on the string below. Let's say you're aiming for the D string. Just try 1, 2, 3, 4. Wind up, let go. Wind up, let go. So that's the basic stroke for the right hand. And you want to do that on all the strings. You want to go 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see that my Risha doesn't go away from the soundboard so much. It just kind of hangs there. You'll develop the control over time. You may feel like you're all over the place. Don't worry about it. Just focus on creating a flow and a pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then go to the next string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep it steady. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then go back. Go back forwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so forth. All the way up and down. This will help you learn where the strings are. Another thing you can do is going 1, 2, 3, 4. Going all the way like that. 1. Going from the top string to each subsequent string, and back and forth. This will also help you find the strings and get used to that. You may have to look a lot and see which one you're touching. So it's okay to look. If you're having trouble looking over the oud, what you need to do is you need to get some of that material that you put in drawers or you put underneath carpets that help the things stick. Put that on your knee and the oud will not slide. That way what you can do is you can hold the oud with a little bit of a slant without the oud sliding off your knee, so that you can give yourself a little bit of room to look over. Instead of having it parallel, you can slant it a little bit so that you can at least see the strings that you're hitting. Anyway, this tuning is different. Oh yeah, this stuff. This material you can get it at a hardware store. Very important to holding the oud. I recommend it for everyone. Let's see. All right, so I hope you guys have some questions. I'm going to check the questions in the chat. If you have any questions about this, I'd be happy to answer. All right. So yeah, any questions about playing the oud for the first time, whatever you like, I'm happy to answer. Again, like I mentioned earlier, we've got a special enrollment this week for the foundation program, online oud learning course. The link is there in the chat. There it is. So check out the details there. The first 5 enrollees get a free half-an-hour Zoom lesson, and also get invited to a Q&A session that will help you answer any pressing questions you have, and hopefully get you over some hurdles that you're finding if you've just recently picked up the oud. And you can meet other people, hopefully. So please let me know if there's any questions that you have. Happy to answer anything today about playing the oud, maqams, Persian music. Hey Daniel, nice to see you here. Yeah, this was a beginner thing. Yeah, any questions you have, happy to answer any questions. Just get playing some music. All right, thanks, Carol, for the great question. Different types of Risha. Okay, there are many types of Risha out there. The most popular ones are these plastic ones. Let me get you a few examples here. Okay, some really popular ones are these pyramid plastic ones. These ones are fairly wide, it has a pyramid logo on it. They're best held with the full palm method, I'd say. The thick ones are a bit harder to hold between the index finger and the third finger. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this this method of holding the Risha. It's used by some Persian players, and I sometimes use it too. So it's mostly these wider Risha are mostly to be held like this, full palm. You can get different varied thicknesses of them. This is a one from Sala Music. This one is quite wide, so more appropriate for the full palm method. Another one, this is a very heavy gauge. This one is about 1 millimeter thick, or maybe 1.5 millimeter thick. And this one, really, you have to hold it through the full palm. It gets a really thick, nice tone. But it's a bit harder to play faster licks and tricks and all that. So it's a bit harder to do that kind of fast stuff with it because it's not so flexible. These ones, these thinner ones, very malleable, very bit more quicker. So you can do more dynamic stuff with more thin, flexible Rishas. These really soft plastic ones, you see them sold in Turkey a lot. I like them too. I used to not like them very much, but I like them a lot now. You can hold it like this. You can hold it like this. They're really nice, actually. And depending on the oud, for Turkish ouds that I have these days, they create a nice soft tone. So that's nice. I also like cowhorn Rishas. I've got one here which is not too wide. This is good for the palm method as well as the pinky method if you like. I prefer the cowhorn with the full palm method. You can really get nice tone out of this. Like all the frequencies are activated when you play with the cowhorn Rishas. They're harder to find though. You can find them on eBay. They're manufacturing them in India. And you can get them from the websites like arabinstruments.com. You can find them from Jordan too. There's somebody on eBay selling them from Jordan. Just search cowhorn Risha. You can find them there. They're not bad. I really like them. They're great for Arabic ouds. I find that they're a little bit harsh when I play my Turkish ouds. The Turkish ouds are already very bright and resonant, so it requires a little softer thing, I think. But it sounds great on the Jumbush here. So those are nice. This is an interesting one. This one is a unique one coming up here. So there's a guitar company in Canada called Riversong Guitars. And they collaborated with a friend of mine, Philip Shaheen, who's Palestinian oud player, oud maker related to Simon Shaheen. And he met the owner of Riversong Oud Guitars from at a convention or something, a guitar convention. And Riversong has been making these wooden laminate picks, guitar picks. and so they decided to collaborate and make their own rishas out of them. So this is a fine layer of wood, plastic, and some other materials, which I don't know too much about. You can find them on Riversong Guitars. Just Google that. These are fun rishas to play with. I like them. Very nice. They play well. Might be a little bit different than the soft plastic rishas you may be used to. Let's see here. I'll show you this very wide cow horn risha that I got from another friend of mine. The guy who he's not making these anymore, but anyway, this is a more of the, again, palm method of way of holding. Very nice sound, thick tone. Philip Shaheen has also developed his own line of fiber. I think they're some kind of fiber like carbon fiber composite material. I'm not too sure. He's also developed his own rishas. These are really nice. They've got this little grain here for friction, and they really mimic the cow horn. Very loud too. He's making them. I don't know if he's selling them. I know he sells them personally. He ships them to people, but you got to buy large quantities. You can't just buy a few of them. It's not worth it. But if you want to buy a whole bunch and get a whole range of thicknesses and stuff, he's selling them. His name is Philip Shaheen. You can find him on Facebook. Very nice risha. Yeah, I don't know where they're selling them conveniently, but you can find him and contact him. Another thing that I have here that you can only find in Japan, there's a oud maker in Tokyo. Well, not in Tokyo, but close to Tokyo, who he's recycled these old baleen. This is the baleen from whales that have beached themselves, and he's made rishas out of them. This one is a monster. It's quite thick. This is not for export. You can't get them outside of Japan, but he gifted me with some of these, which is really nice of him. They're really much like cow horn in that they're very rigid. Here's another one, very organic kind of material. Great for live performances. If you want to play or jam with people, they'll bring out the sound of your oud way better than these soft plastic rishas. So it's great for live playing, gigging, places where you really need to dig in. Cow horn is great for that, and baleen. But yeah, these you can't find them outside of Japan, unfortunately. These are fun to play with too. All right. If there's any more questions, I'm happy to answer, and then I gotta get going. Yeah, this looks like a banjo plus an oud, but these instruments have been around for way longer than the banjo. The instruments that we have, like robab, use skin. Persian tar, which originated from like the late 18th century or so. Again, Persian skin, goat skin or cat skin they use for that. But yeah, these I love banjo-like instruments. They're just so resonant, and they they play for you. They do half the job for you. So yeah, thanks so much for joining me, guys, today. It was good to see you out here. If you have any other questions, you can always email me at support@OudforGuitarists.com. All right, good question about website for buying ouds. That's a good question. The best website, there's no best website. It really depends on what your needs are. For your needs, what your budget is, where you live. I might recommend different places based on where you live and what currency you're using, what you might have available in your area. So depends on where you live. Yeah, but depends on what type of oud you want. Turkish oud, made oud, or Arabic oud. Really depends. There's no one-stop shop really to get a good oud, but yeah, I like the ouds that there's some great prices and great ouds on ethicmusical.com. Also morrisoudshop.com. If you're in the US, it might be best to get something that's in the US. I might recommend morrisoudshop.com. Here, I'll put this in the link there. Morris Oud Shop, Egyptian ouds, and they're already in the States, so you don't have to pay for duties and tax on it, as far as I know, if you're in the States. Those are great ouds to start on. They have some great prices there, and the guy who runs the website, he's great, knows his stuff, so check that out. Let's see here. Practicing intonation. You need to make sure that you've got your oud in tune. So intonation, when it comes to the biggest tip I have for intonation is finding the perfect fifths. So you have an open string D. To find the fifth note above there, let's say we're playing just a minor scale. So D is the first note. 1, 2, 3, 4 will be the open string, the next open string. Then fifth is going to be your A natural. You want to learn to get these harmonious. You don't want it to sound like this. Keep pushing your finger to find that right spot. This is how you practice intonation. You learn the relationships between the strings that you're playing, between the notes that you're playing. Let's say you start on one of the open strings. Let's say G now. The perfect fifth is going to be your first finger or second finger on the D note. You may see from time to time oud players just pick up and start noodling. They're looking for those notes. They're calibrating. You're calibrating your fingers. I do that all the time. I always have to do that. When I pick up, I may play something like this to find that fifth. If I can find that fifth note in relationship to one of the open strings, G, D, or D and A, or C and G, see that harmony? It's so beautiful and resonant and consonant. It just, the frequencies meld together so beautifully. When you find those, that'll help your intonation because that will bleed off. You find that position, your third finger will then sound with the right intonation. Then develop your muscle memory. Play phrases over and over again, like and always refer to the note that you're starting on. So if you're starting on that G and you find the fifth, then that's your reference point. In music, we always have reference points for notes, and depends on the scale you're playing, all these kind of different things. So that's what I would do to start that intonation practice. You can also find the fifth relationship between A and E. Even I have to adjust sometimes to find that spot. Hey Trevor, which oud were you talking about? This one that I'm holding right here? Or one of my other ones? This Jumbush oud was made by Sylvain in France. His website is actually in the chat. If you scroll up, you can find it. sbdprojects.com. Check his website out. It's a fantastic instrument. I love this thing. All right, thanks so much for joining me, guys. I'm done for now. Thanks so much for joining. If you have any questions, email me. You got my links there. Thanks so much. Good seeing you all here. Thanks, Carol. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Trevor. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.